Welcome back, everybody. This is the second video in the Northern Dawn Guard Campaign Diaries series that I've started. Last time, when last we left our heroes, we were introduced to Gurok, Asami, Asuna, and Elris, the four main characters of this group. They had been asked by the stuttering Father Draenei to go and investigate a military fortress up in the mountains not too far away. So the party left, faced a direwolf on the trail, and started their climb into the mountains. That's where we left off last time. Now, to understand what happens in this particular session, we have to rewind time a little bit. In real world, the four people who I already described were the first four to join the group. These next three people joined the group after they hopped in at this session, and in that moment I decided to rewind time and give them a similar but separate reason for being in the same place at the same time. So we had three new players join in at this moment. I allowed them to be a little bit ahead of them because then they could explore the area before the main group got there, have a little bit of an encounter with some kobolds that were left behind, and have a little bit of experience as compared to the other group who had fought a direwolf and already had some experience. So the three players who joined the group in this moment are Leah Moonbrook, a wood elf ranger with a cute smile and a dark past. She is on the run from a noble lord who was upset by her actions recently. She appeared to have stolen something of great value to this lord. She had made her way north through taverns and selling her skills as an entertainer to make her way this far. Next, we have Orion Kilsmore, the human soldier who was played pretty much as just a straight-laced mercenary with a heart of gold. He was played very briefly by a person who I only met for that time. He came in, played a few sessions, and then dropped out. He also brought his girlfriend into game, and she played the third and final member of this smaller party. She played Hidden Voice, the dark elf druid with a propensity for minions and probably aspirations for world domination. Those three were hired by Durgan Bronston, the local cleric of the Moradin Temple, as compared to Father Draenei of the Pelor Temple. So they had a slightly different reason to be heading up into the mountain pass, but a very similar motivation and goal. They had both been hired by one of the three major temples of the town to go investigate some troubles up there. They left sooner than the other group, walked, didn't have any encounters on the way up there, but once they got up there, they spent some time looking around. They saw the destruction that was caused, which I'll get into in just a second, and as well, three kobolds who appeared to have been left over from the combat before. They were able to take them on in a fight, eliminated them without any difficulties, and then continued their investigations. And around this moment, the original four-party member band of adventurers showed up at the gate. These four and these three both decide to work together in this moment to investigate this seemingly abandoned fortress. They notice that the stables has been completely razed to the ground. The gate has been bashed in by this battering ram that appears to have been left behind in a ditch nearby. Footprints and blood spattered everywhere. A huge battle appeared to have happened. They investigate the bottom floor of the central keep, and they notice that the kitchen has been raided and supplies have been stolen away. They head up into the barracks on the second floor, and they see beds torn apart for wood, fabrics torn away. Everything's just in shambles. The armory has been raided. And then they open the master bedroom. Now, the master bedroom was this entire... Let me start from the beginning. The second floor of this entire fortress was actually come up with by me on the spot at the last second because I realized that I hadn't built it yet, because I am an idiot. I had created the first floor in case they went in there. I had created the roof where the beacon was going to be to warn the town if something attacked, because I had plans for there to be a cold open, which I discussed in a previous video. But I didn't create the connecting floor in between, and I decided I needed it. I needed to add a second floor, and I did it completely off the cuff in that moment. And it allowed this moment to be improvised. They open up that door into the master bedroom, the commander's suite, as you could call it. And they see, the best way I could think to describe it is a scene from a gory horror movie. Everything is stained red with the blood of this commander. His body appears to have been tied to the bedposts of his bed. His body is just ripped apart, torn open, bones broken, meat chewed away. It seems like he was flayed and then skinned, and the meat was taken away and used later on. They look around and they find no signs of any sort of ambush or anything, which was their initial fear. They checked, like smart players, they checked the ceiling because they thought that a dark mantle or something was going to drop down from above. But yeah, they investigate and they find a little bit of coinage and all that sort of stuff. But overall, they just find scenes of battle. They head back down to the opening courtyard, and the druid wanders off to the forest to go commune with animals. Maybe she can figure out some more what's happened here. The cleric looks over to the temple, and she sees that it's still relatively intact. She thinks, oh, that's good. And then they find one of them, I believe the ranger, found a decapitated kobold arm. It was chopped off at the elbow and oozed black blood, which was weird. And they knew it was weird. It's pretty obviously weird. So the cleric decides she's going to cast Detect Magic. And she does so. She looks at the arm and she recognizes it as having some sort of necrotic energy imbued into it. It's not a magic something. It's something that had magic upon it. For those of you who are sitting at home, probably rather astutely have deduced that this is the arm of a kobold zombie. This was part of like my initial plans. I wanted to have the kobolds attack, and then they attack one of the kobolds, and then the kobold takes some damage, and the arm drops, and then they realize that it's not a kobold, it's a kobold zombie. It was going to be kind of a twist, and then it was also going to kind of tie into the fact that those 3 kobolds that they fought in the beginning weren't part of the initial raid. They came later to scavenge, but I didn't really get a chance to flesh out those details, unfortunately. I had to scrap the entire idea, which I think I discussed in the previous video. If you want to know more, blah blah down below. I'll be happy to answer any questions. Anyways, the cleric finds this zombie arm, and then she starts looking around. Spell's still active for about 10 minutes. Doesn't go off. No reason not to run it. She looks around, and she notices that the temple is currently having this sort of golden light imbued around it. So they decide to investigate. They open up the doors, and they see that the temple is relatively untouched. The kobolds didn't come in. Nothing really sort of attacked the temple. The wood is still, the pews are still intact. The wooden pews are still there. The books closed, properly stacked where they should be. Everything's in order, essentially. Like, nothing's even happened. And then they see in the very far back 3 holy symbols hanging on the back wall, which I then discussed with them this as part of my campaign setting. There are 3 passes in the north, which you can see on the map here. There are 3 passes in the north. There's the Morden Pass, the Pelor Pass, and the Arathis Pass. Each pass was attacked by a great evil in the past, and these 3 temples helped unite the townsfolk to deal with the threat, and they were able to build their fortresses into those passes, and so each temple is responsible for one of the passes. But each temple, the chapel within that fortress, pays homage to the 3 gods who helped get them through that dark time. The party goes in, they're looking around, like, oh, okay, yeah, everything seems untouched, it's all normal, which should have been a very clear sign that things are not normal, because in the aftermath of an attack, not normal is now normal, but I don't think they put that together. The monk, Elris, he decides he is going to take the holy symbols from the wall and tuck them away in his pack. As he does so, the divine shield that the cleric had picked up on shimmers and fades away. It's gone. Players thought, okay, and then completely didn't really keep track of that, didn't really know that, didn't really care. They find some tracks, they follow the tracks, they decide They follow the tracks for a little while, but they decide not to follow them all the way to the kobold's lair for some reason. And they decide, okay, well, I think we were only sent up here to figure out what happened. Like, they don't want us going all the way into the mountains to deal with these kobolds. So we're going to head back to town. Bear in mind, it was my first DM session, so I learned a hard lesson. Be very, very explicit with your players, because they won't put the pieces together on their own. They head back to town. Their walk has no problems. They get back to town. They meet with each of the 3 people that they can. They meet with Durgrim the dwarf. Actually, no. First, they meet with Father Draenei, who asks them, okay, you're back. You figured that out. Are you going to go deal with the threat like I asked you to? And they say, yeah, we're probably going to go do that. And then the other 3 go and talk to Durgrim the dwarf, who tells them, the hell are you doing back here so soon? You're supposed to kill whatever was attacking them. Get back up there. Deal with this. Which was kind of funny. Then one of the 3 people in the party decides, oh, well, maybe I should ask for more money. And then they try, and then they fail. And then one of the people from the original 4 show up and is like, oh, I'm going to help him try and succeed in this. At which point he tries to intimidate him, and then the dwarf just laughs it off, because dwarves are badasses, especially a mid to high level cleric paladin like he was. And I had an internal moment of chuckling where I realized that this guy tried to intimidate the guy who was paying the other people to help them out. Whereas if he tried to intimidate his own guy to get him to pay more, he probably would have, because Father Draenei is not a very courageous man, whereas Durgrim Bronston is very much so a courageous man. He would not fucking deal with that shit. Anyways, then they go and they talk with one of the Arathites, a man by the name of Grandmaster Moram Bar. They talk with him and learn a little bit about what's going on in him. Doesn't really affect their decision at all, but the monk who stole the 3 holy symbols handed them back to each of the temple people that they contacted. He thinks he's getting bonus points for diplomacy. No, that's not what's happening. Anyways, the party at this point spent the day hiking up, learning about the fortress, and hiking back. So at this point, it's getting pretty close to night. Everyone decides to lay down for the night. A couple of the players get into a bar brawl with each other because, players probably. I'm just glad they didn't set the tavern on fire. So, and then they wake up. So after the party dispenses their way through the tavern to go to bed, that's pretty much where we ended the session. Most people slept in the tavern. One person decided to sleep outside, which I was not a fan of, but I let him do it. He slept out in like an alley. And then one person decided to sleep in a tree outside of town, which I came this close to sicking some giant spiders on her, because you never split the party. If you split the party, that is how people get handed to and die. If you want more examples of when they split the party and things could go really bad, but I've decided to be nice, stay tuned. We got some orcs. We got at the time a druid ended up facing down an entire thieves guild's worth of thugs preparing to kick her ass. We got the time that a player character died. We got the time that the party almost got their butts handed to them by some demons because one of the players wasn't with them. Yeah. These players, man, they don't want to be a team. They keep insisting on splitting off and going in different directions. And I don't understand, no matter how many times I tell them not to do that and how many times I almost died doing it. I don't know. I really don't. Anyways, that was the second session. We had investigation. We had a really gory scene involving the captain of the guard. We had hiking back to town and doing some shopping and negotiations with various political leaders. Party doesn't really know it yet, but those 3 are in a bit of a struggle for power over this town. There's a council, eight members on the council. 3 of them are a temple. One of them is captain of the guard. The other 2 are local guilds. I think it was farmers and merchants. And then, of course, the Lord himself, who resides over everything. But anyways, they don't know a lot about that. They haven't spent a lot of time with the politics, so politics aren't really a big thing in this campaign. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this session. This one, I don't know for a fact, but this one should be a little bit longer. It had a lot more of the actual role playing and less of the sort of discussing what was happening first. Next session, the party goes back to the fortress. They find the trail again, and they start actually going and finding these kobolds, who they believe are responsible for having killed the entirety of the fortress guard. So stay tuned for that epic battle, including kobold chieftain, zombie ambush, traps. Gotta love traps. Kobolds, I love them. And yeah, I'll see you guys at the next session, right? So take care.